What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew coming at you with another Atlanta Falcons video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. It is Wednesday, and I want to do a quick post-game show for the game that we had on Sunday, which was against the Seattle Seahawks. They did take the win at a score of 27-20. We did fight hard in the game, but we just dug ourselves too deep of a hole, and they were able to take the win. So we are now on a 6-game losing streak going into our bye week. And coming out of that bye week, we do have our hated rivals, the New Orleans Saints, which I believe is at the New Orleans Saints, which is one of the toughest venues to play at. But before I get too far ahead of myself, just want to apologize to all of my subscribers. I wasn't able to do my video on Monday like I like to do for the post-game show for Sunday's game. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I was very busy on Monday and Tuesdays this week, so I'm just getting around to it. But as always, I have all of the Falcons content you want and need. And I have a lot of things I want to jump to in this video, not just talk about the game from Sunday, but also want to talk about Arthur Blank, Dan Quinn, some Atlanta Falcons news and notes, and where we're headed as the Atlanta Falcons organization. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to start with the news and notes. Quick news and notes. We did cut Matt Bryant yesterday, longtime kicker of the Atlanta Falcons. So I want to wish him a happy trails to him and his family. As I was saying in the preseason, if you watched my videos previously, I really was not big on bringing Matt Bryant back because I didn't think that bringing him back was going to be have a huge impact on this team. And it turned out a little bit worse than what I thought it would be. I mean, I thought if we brought him back, okay, he's a solid kicker. But I felt like when he was cut, that he was past his prime. He's 44 years old. I felt like we needed to go younger at that position. And the Atlanta Falcons were saying that they were trying to save some money on the cap where they could pay a younger kicker less than pay Matt Bryant. And a lot of the Falcon fans were in an uproar. And as fans, we always think that we're correct. And in this case, we were wrong. And this is why I tell Atlanta Falcons fans, sometimes we're going off of emotion and off of what a player has done in the past, and we're not living and looking into the future. And that's what I felt like Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff were trying to do. They're trying to move forward as the New England Patriots do, where Bill Belichick, he may be a cutthroat type of coach, but what Bill Belichick always preaches is that he would rather trade a player a year too early than a year too late. And we were a year late with Matt Bryant. We should have let him go. When we first made our decision, we should have stood by our decision of cutting him. And a lot of fans may be upset about what I'm saying, but I love Matt Bryant. I think he's an excellent kicker, and I thought he was he's still an excellent kicker. He's still an excellent player, an excellent leader, an excellent special teams. He's the all-time leading scorer for the Atlanta Falcons with all of the field goals he has made in the past, and he did help Matt Bryant win his first playoff game years ago against the Seattle Seahawks. The year that we won. So the year that we won that game against Seattle. So he has some huge milestones, and he always will be remembered as a great Atlanta Falcons player. But when it's time to move on, sometimes it's just time to move on. And I felt like it was time to move on from Matt Bryant, and we should have stuck by our decision. We should have kept Giorgio Savecchio. Like I said, way back when in the preseason when I made my video, because it was time to move forward and go younger. And Matt Bryant, he missed that kick against Arizona, which pretty much cost the game. We ended up losing that game 34-33. And ever since he missed that kick, he's never been the same. He couldn't get out of his own way. And I tell people all the time with kickers, it's all mental. He couldn't get past that mental block of missing that kick, and he just kept reliving it, whatever, having that nightmare, and he continued to miss kicks through the last few weeks. Against Seattle, he missed 2 kicks. He's been missing kicks wide right, wide left, and that's what tells you that it's all in his mind at this point. He's going up to kick. He's fidgeting. He's moving, doing a whole bunch of movement before he kicks the ball, like he's just nervous. So I wish him nothing but the best. He's been a great kicker for us. Like you said, you kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't in that situation. I mean, it was like a catch-22. We didn't know that when he came back that he was going to struggle. So I'm not going to even say that I knew that when we brought him back he would struggle, because I didn't think that. I just felt like I was okay with Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff making the move to move forward, because as players get older, sometimes you have to move past those older players, even if they've been great for the franchise, and go ahead and bring in the future. So with that being said, let's jump right into the game that was played on Sunday against the Seattle Seahawks. Like I said, we did lose the game by 7. We got off to a slow start again in this game. It was a lot of things that I was encouraged about watching this game. A lot of improvements that I'm seeing these players make, which I'm very happy with that. Let me jump right into it. And the first person that I would like to say that I'm very proud of, I'm seeing improvement, or the group that I'm proud of, is 2 players, Isaiah Oliver and Kendall Sheffield. They're 2 young corners, and they show promise in this game against Seattle. They had very tight coverage in the man-to-man. I love what I saw from Dan Quinn of playing more man-to-man coverage. These guys were all over these receivers. They were following these receivers, trailing these receivers, and Russell Wilson was just making pinpoint accurate throws. But I guarantee you, if these guys continue to play at the level that they're playing at, we will win a lot of games going forward. Trust me when I tell you this. If we keep these guys, Isaiah Oliver and Kendall Sheffield, they are making they've grown by leaps and bounds, especially Isaiah Oliver. From the first game to this 8th game, and I told you guys I would give him to the 8th game of the season, because that's about the midway point to kind of give my assessment of what I'm seeing out of him. Excuse me. And Isaiah Oliver has shown me that he is growing in his role with this team. He struggled mightily the first 8 weeks, but from the first game to the 8th game, he looks like a totally different player. In this game, I don't know if it's because he's playing more man-to-man coverage, but he had tight coverage on pretty much every play where he was getting caught when they replayed it, and it was a throw made to Tyler Lockett. It was a couple catches that Tyler Lockett had where Kendall Sheffield and Isaiah Oliver was all over these guys. It was just perfect passes by Russell Wilson, pinpoint accurate passes, and great catches and tight coverage by the receivers. So in that case, all you can do at that point is go to the middle of the field at the end of the game, shake the quarterback hand, shake the coach's hand, and tell them you were the better team today. Because it's like I said, it's only so good of a defense that you can play against a perfect offense. So it's no perfect defense for a perfect offense. If someone's making a perfect throw, pinpoint accurate like a Pat Mahomes, and that's what Russell Wilson was doing. Russell Wilson is a top 5 quarterback in this league, if not top 3. And the throws that he was making and the catches that his guys were making on Sunday were like unbelievable catches and tight coverage. So I promise you, if we would have played this way against a lot of those guys we played early in the season when we were running a lot of soft zone coverage, like against Jacoby Brissett and against Marcus Mariota, I'm telling you, Marcus Mariota wouldn't have carved this defense up if Isaiah Oliver was playing at the level that he's playing at now, and if Kendall Sheffield and Trufant were playing on this level. We played a lot of that soft zone coverage against those teams, and they beat us underneath and over the top. But if these guys would have played more man-to-man and played at this level, we possibly could have won those games, or at least made those games look more respectable and less lopsided than they look. So that was the one thing that I definitely was encouraged about, is this young secondary does look like it's getting much, much better over time as it improves. On a defensive end, as far as the defensive line, we finally have got a sack and broke the streak of not having a sack in like 4 games. Tyler Davison had a sack and Grady Jarrett had a sack. So bravo to those guys. I appreciate them going hard for the team. Vic Beasley and Tat McKinley, they had some pressure. They were getting pressure on Russell Wilson. A couple times they had Vic Beasley spying on Russell Wilson. He made a couple tackles in the open field against Russell Wilson. So the team the defense looked a lot better. In the second half, we were outscored 24-0 the first half. But in the second half, they held the Seahawks to 3 points the whole half. And if you can hold Russell Wilson in that offense to 3 points when we were struggling to stop the run, that was excellent showing by this defense. And it's showing that they are making improvements. And those were some huge things that I looked at in this game that I was impressed by. Also on the offensive side, Matt Schaub definitely stepped up, and he had a lot of quick quick passes. I like the game that Dirk Cutter called, or whoever was making the calls. I love the quick 3-step drop passes. Get the ball out of Matt Schaub's hands quickly and get it to the receivers, your playmakers, and let them make plays. I love what I saw out of Brian Hill. He definitely needs to get more snaps. And this is what I talk about when I talk about injuries. And sometimes, as much as I hate injuries, when players get injured, this is an opportunity, and this is where the stage is set for someone else to show what they can do. And Brian Hill proved that he should be getting some carries. I don't even care if Ito Smith is healthy. Brian Hill, I don't care if we need to run Freeman, Brian Hill, and Ito Smith. Maybe if it needs to be like a 3-headed monster type deal, but Brian Hill has earned snaps on this team. He's been playing a lot of special teams for the Falcons this year, but in this game, he got his opportunity to carry the ball, and he had a nice 25-yard touchdown run. He was very physical. He ran vertical right up the line, through the line, broke tackles, and made his way to the end zone. So he looked very good in this game. He looked fast. He looked fresh. And like I said, I'm a big believer in having a bigger running back, having bigger running backs. Another thing that I was impressed by in this game, I was impressed by the receivers that was filling in and took Mohamed Sanu's spot. Russell Gage looked excellent in this game. Justin Hardy looked good. Julio Jones looked good as always. Austin Hooper is just a baller. He's been balling all season. So those guys look good in this game. Now, going forward, where we need to improve on this team, in the run game, we need to do a better job at stopping the run, because like I said before in my previous videos, if you cannot make an offense one-dimensional, you make it very hard on yourself to be able to stop them on third downs, because you never know what they're going to do. If you can't make a team one-dimensional, their whole playbook is open. You're opening up Pandora's box. So like on a 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, that whole playbook is open. When you cannot stop the run, you don't know what a team will try to do. Whether they're going to run, whether they're going to pass, you don't know. And this game, we didn't do a good job of stopping the run. But as I mentioned in my pregame show, the Seattle Seahawks are one of the best running teams in the NFL, because they have Russell Wilson that can run the ball, and Chris Carson is a very big and physical running back. He breaks a lot of tackles. He's very physical, and their offensive line plays very physical. So in this game, they did kind of bully our defensive line a little bit in the running game. We were, continue to be gashed in the running game, as I talked about all season long. And that's why I said in the draft, I would like to see us go after Derek Brown of Auburn. I am an Auburn Tigers fan, and I've watched him since he's been a freshman at Auburn, and he's an excellent run stopper. He's an excellent guy at stopping the run and plugging up holes. And he will be excellent to place right next to Grady Jarrett, where he'll take a lot of double teams, and that will allow Grady Jarrett to become a better pass rusher, because he's already a great pass rusher, but he's dealing with double teams at all times. So if we can get Derek Brown in the draft, I would love that move. He's built kind of like a Fletcher Cox, where he's solid in the middle and he demands a double team at all times, which means that Grady Jarrett will be freed up to have one-on-ones. And we know one man can't block Grady Jarrett, because they're having a hard enough time with 2 people blocking Grady Jarrett. Grady Jarrett most of the time still penetrates. Even when he's being double teamed on every play, he's still earning the money that he got, and he's been plugging up holes. So with me saying that, Grady Jarrett is one of my favorite players on this team, and Grady Jarrett is probably the next jersey that I might get, because he's just an excellent player, very physical, very aggressive, and just a baller. They call him, Marcon Manuel used to call him the truck driver. He's an excellent guy in stopping the run. And always brings his lunch pail to work. Every single game, he jumps off the screen at me. Grady Jarrett is probably the best player on this defense, other than Deion Jones. Him and Deion Jones are neck and neck for the best players. And Keanu Neal, when he's healthy, he's right there. Those 3 guys are who you build the team around. Grady Jarrett, Deion Jones, and Keanu Neal. When they're healthy, when Keanu Neal is healthy, he's right up there with those 2 guys as like 2-3 dominant players on this defense. And I feel like those are the guys that we should continue to build this defense around. And those are the guys that, of course, we paid in the offseason. Now, Moving forward, another thing that I would like to see, and I was kind of discouraged about, is we continue with these slow starts in the game. We must start off these games faster. We must get out to a lead. I've talked about it. We will play a lot better. This defense and this whole team, the Atlanta Falcons in general, our team plays better playing with the lead, playing from ahead and not behind. Because once you get behind, that makes it harder to run the ball because you're fighting the clock. It makes it harder for this defense. It just makes it, you make it hard on yourself when you're down 17, 20 some points per game. So I would like to see us start off faster. I've been saying that in my keys to victory pretty much for 8 weeks now, and we haven't done it every single game this season, I believe, except for maybe one game. We have been trailing at halftime. So the 1-7 record is not surprising because every game this year we've gotten behind big in games. And I know that this team is good. I've seen this team is very inconsistent, and Arthur Blank has talked about that, and he talked about that in his press conference, that this team has been very inconsistent. We've played great second halves, but we haven't put together a full 4 quarters for whatever reason this season. And I feel like if we can put together a full 4 quarters in the second half of the season, we'll be great. It'll be a great thing if we can put it together. And I do believe that in the second half we're going to win a lot of games. And y'all might say what, but I believe the only teams that I'm really concerned about in this second half of the season is the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints is the two games that we have to play in the second half of the season that I'm really concerned about. I believe we're going to beat Tampa twice. I believe we're going to beat Carolina twice. I've been saying it for a long time. I feel like Carolina hasn't really beaten anybody. Great. The only team that they beat that was a solid win was the Houston Texans. But other than the Houston Texans, they're not a great team. The Panthers they are very beatable. And we've seen that this week when they got stomped by the 49ers, 51 to like 13 or 10 or something like that. They proved that the Panthers are fool's gold, just like last year. I feel like the Panthers in the second half of the season, they haven't played a tough schedule yet. They haven't played everybody that we've already played, like the Seattle Seahawks of the world, the Indianapolis Colts. They have a lot of tough games the second half of their season. They've beaten like the Bucks, teams like that. But they have a hard schedule coming up this second half for the next 8 games. And I feel like our schedule gets a little bit easier than it's been this first couple, the first 8 games. Because our first 8 games were very tough games. So as much as Atlanta Falcons fans may feel like, the Falcons suck this year and we're struggling, I'm not going to lie. We have struggled this year. We have been very inconsistent. Do I feel like this team sucks? No, I don't feel like this team sucks. I feel like we have missed on opportunities the door has been open in at least 2 to 3 games that we've lost. So we could easily have at least 2 to 3 wins. Maybe 3 to 4 wins this season. It's a lot of games that are right there for the taking that we just end up letting slip through our fingertips. The Colts game was right there for the taking that we didn't win. This last game against the Seahawks was a game that was right there for the taking. I'm trying to think. I know the game against Minnesota was a blowout. The Texans, that game was kind of close, but they kind of blew us out too. The Titans game, they blew us out too. So at least I can name like 2 games. I know the Colts for a fact, in the Seahawks games. Oh, and Arizona. So those are the 3 games. The Arizona Cardinals game was definitely there for the taking. So those 3 games, we could easily be sitting here with 4 wins. We could easily be sitting at 4-4 right now. But the ball has not bounced our way in any of these games. The penalties, nothing has went our way in this season. The penalties that we've been receiving have been terrible. Some of the calls that we've been getting have been terrible. In this last game, that crucial momentum call when they said Devontae Freeman caught the ball and fumbled, it was clearly not a fumble. When they went back to the play and they showed it, Devontae Freeman was on the ground. Now, do I feel like Devontae Freeman needs to chill with trying to stretch the ball at the goal line? Yes, he needs to chill because he was a little too far to be trying to stretch the ball. But at the same time, the refs once again, and I've been saying this all season, the ref hosed us and hosed us on that call. That was a terrible call. It clearly, you can see that Devontae Freeman's forearms were down before the ball came out. He clearly had the ball secured, and when he hit the ground, The ball basically is almost like the ground made the ball come out. It wasn't the tackle that made the ball come out. It was him hitting the ground and then his arms hitting the ground, which made the ball come out. So with that being said, I don't want to stick too much on the refs because we have to do a better job at taking control of our own destiny. And I come from the old school where we say we're not going to leave the game or put the game in the refs' hands or cry over spilt milk. We need to take the game in our own hands, and we need to beat these teams by at least 7 to 14 points or beat these teams by more points. Now, with that being said, I'm also going to keep it real when we're getting hosed. And a lot of these calls, I haven't seen us win a call yet. I haven't seen us win a challenge yet this season. I haven't seen the refs call a fumble or anything like that in our favor. Because I think it was the game against the Titans where the guy clearly got tackled at the 1 yard line and fumbled the ball when Isaiah Oliver tackled him, and the ball went into the end zone, and DeMonte Casey clearly recovered the fumble. They gave them the ball on the goal line. So like I said, in all these 50-50 calls, the refs, I don't know what they have against the Atlanta Falcons, but every time it comes down to a judgment call, these refs are ruling against us pretty much in every situation. So I don't know what we need to do. I feel like these refs need to be called to the carpet by the owner, and we definitely have to. Definitely need to be called out and take responsibility for some of these games and some of these bad calls that they're making. Because I know clearly with the one with Freeman, that was a momentum shifter because we were right there in the goal. In the red zone, we were down by like 2 touchdowns at that point, and that would have been a key play for us or a key touchdown if we could have scored or even got 3 points in that scenario. So it's been some key mistakes being made. Like I said, the ball just hasn't bounced this team's way this year, and that's the luck of the draw. Like I said, most of the games in the NFL come down to the last possession. What team can make a stop? What team can score a touchdown or kick or get into field goal range? And it seems like we've lost pretty much every game that's come down to the nitty gritty. So, it is what it is at this point. Like I said, our record is what it is. We 1-7. So now it's time for us to put on our hard hats and get back to work. Now, I want to talk about moving forward. The media has been hounding Arthur Blank about firing Dan Quinn, and I do not feel like it's time to fire Dan Quinn. As I mentioned before, I think that Arthur Blank is doing the right thing by trying to take this season to evaluate if these players are making improvements, to evaluate a lot of things. What's going on with this team? Why are we losing? But I feel like the media needs to dial it back and stop harassing Arthur Blank, because on Sunday, after every single game, after the last 2 games, Arthur Blank is being swarmed by the media asking him, what are you going to do about Dan Quinn? Is he going to be fired? What is your plans going forward? Things of that nature. Arthur Blank knows what he's doing. He has Rich McKay and a lot of guys that come from New England that knows about winning football. Dan Quinn has been nothing but a winner since he's been here. Last year was his first losing season, and that was pretty much with a mass unit with everybody injured. Like I said before, a lot of us as Falcons fans are living in a fantasy world. Like I've been seeing a lot of different things coming out about a lot of our players that I don't like a lot of stuff about ex-players. One in particular that I've been seeing is Tevin Coleman. He had 4 touchdowns with the 49ers on Sunday. And I heard a lot of Falcons fans, and I've seen a lot of posts on Twitter and things of that nature saying Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff signed the wrong running back. We shouldn't have signed Devontae Freeman. We should have kept Tevin Coleman. But what I want to call these fans to the carpet to is this. Okay, Tevin Coleman had his opportunity last year to be the starting running back because Devontae Freeman was hurt pretty much the whole season. Tevin Coleman did nothing to sustain or to gain a new contract. He didn't even rush for 1,000 yards last year. I don't think Tevin Coleman has ever rushed for 1,000 yards, but he didn't do much of nothing last year. He was average. When he got his chance to start and prove that he was a better running back, he didn't do it. Last year, they gave Tevin Coleman a prime opportunity to go ahead and nail down a starting role, and he didn't win the competition. He did not show himself. He did not earn a new contract. They gave him a chance to earn a new contract, just like they gave Vic Beasley a chance this year to prove that his value. Tevin Coleman didn't prove anything. And to me, he hasn't proven anything to me this year. Tevin Coleman is playing for a better team. That's it. If you take Devontae Freeman off of this team and you put him on the 49ers, he's going to have the same success that Tevin Coleman is going to have. And if Tevin Coleman was still here on this Atlanta Falcons team, he would look just as bad as any of these running backs we currently have, because the offensive line is not doing a good job of blocking, period. That's the problem with this Atlanta Falcons rushing attack. Has nothing to do with Tevin Coleman. Everybody in the backfield for the 49ers right now are eating. If you look at last game, they have another running back on their team called Moster. He had a touchdown run last game. They also have another running back by the name of Breida. Matt Breida. He's been running well for their team as well. So they have like 3 or 4 running backs on the 49ers that are prospering. And it's because they have a better offensive line than the Falcons have right now. They're more physical at the point of attack. They're winning the line of scrimmage. They have a much better defense than we have right now. So what are we saying? Tevin Coleman is not better than Devontae Freeman. He's just looking better at this point in his career because he's on a better team. I guarantee you, if you took Devontae Freeman off of the Falcons and put him on the 49ers, he would have the same amount of success, because Devontae Freeman is being successful this year catching the ball more than running the ball, but that's because our pass blocking has been a little bit better than our run blocking. But our run blocking this year for anybody who's in the backfield, whether it's Brian Hill, whether it's Ito Smith, has been terrible. Our offensive line has been below average this year. And the 49ers offensive line are playing excellent. They're winning. They're probably one of the top rushing teams in the league. And it doesn't have anything to do with Tevin Coleman being a better running back. What it has to do with is Kyle Shanahan is a better play caller than Dirk Cutter. And Kyle Shanahan has better run schemes where he knows how to scheme players open and scheme up running plays. He does a better job at designing running plays than Dirk Cutter. So that's the reason that Tevin Coleman is looking better. It has nothing to do with Tevin Coleman being a much better running back than Devontae Freeman. So with that being said, some of the stuff that our Atlanta Falcons fans are saying and the media is saying is ridiculous. It's crazy. It's borderline crazy. So that was one of the myths that I wanted to go ahead and squash, because Tevin Coleman is not this all-pro running back. No, he's average. He's all right. He's fast. He hits the hole. He does what they ask him to do for their offense. But it has nothing to do with him being a great or a better player than Devontae Freeman. It has everything to do with the personnel, who he's playing for, what type of offensive coordinator you have. All of that factors into your running game, your offensive line. All of that factors in. Because if you look at Le'Veon Bell, can no one sit here and tell me that Tevin Coleman is better than Le'Veon Bell? And Le'Veon Bell is not having a good season. But he's not having a good season because why? He's still the same type of running back. He's still the same running back as the Pittsburgh Steelers running back. But the Pittsburgh Steelers has a much better offensive line than the New York Jets have. And that's the reason that he's struggling. That's the reason that Le'Veon Bell is struggling, because he plays for the Jets. He doesn't play for the Steelers anymore. And the Steelers have another team that has one of the best offensive lines in the game. So you have to look at everything when you try to judge what player is the better player and why. You have to look at why players are succeeding. Don't just look at numbers. Don't just look at touchdowns. Anybody can score touchdowns playing for great teams. You can look at the Patriots. The Patriots don't have the best running backs, but they score a lot of touchdowns. Rex Burkhead is below average running back, but he's successful because he plays in New England. And pretty much anybody that plays for New England that carries the ball for them scores a lot of touchdowns because they know how to scheme running game. They always have an excellent offensive line. So that's what you have to look at when you're trying to judge how well a player, how good a player really is. Because I guarantee you, if you take Tevin Coleman off of the 49ers and put him on a team with less talent, he's not going to look as great as he's looking. Now, with that said, another thing that I wanted to jump into in this video, like I was talking about the whole issue with Arthur Blank and him finding a new coach for this team. I said it before. What I would like to see out of this team, I would like to see Dan Quinn stick around for at least one more year. And I'm going to tell you why I want to see Dan Quinn stick around for one more season. Because I'm seeing improvements out of this defense. Even though we're struggling, it's a lost season at this point, it looks like. It doesn't look like anything positive as far as we're not winning games. But this team is showing life. This team is showing improvement. And these guys that are making improvement will look much better next season after having a full 16 games under their belt, a full offseason with training camp, mini camps. And if you go and change this whole, like say we go ahead and say we're firing Dan Quinn and we clean house, that'll be 2 years in a row that we fired all of the assistants and we try to bring in a whole new regime. Because if you remember last year, Dan Quinn fired all of his assistants except for the linebackers coach, Coach Albrecht. Coach Albrecht, I believe, was the only coach that stayed around after Dan Quinn cleaned house. Jeff Albrecht, which is he's a great coach. Jeff Albrecht is our linebackers coach. He was the only coach from last year that stuck around. Other than that, we got rid of our special teams coordinator, Keith Armstrong. We got rid of Marquand Manuel, who was the defensive coordinator, and we got rid of Sark. So Steve Sarkisian. So you do not want this much turnover. And Sean Weatherspoon, who is one of my favorite Falcons, former Falcons players, a former middle linebacker, former captain of this team, he came out and said that when Dan Quinn fired all of the assistants, he said, when you bring in a whole new regime, meaning you bring in a whole bunch of new coaches, it takes time to develop chemistry with those coaches. It takes time to develop relationships with and trust, to build trust with a new coach. And that's my whole problem with all of the Falcons fans and the media that's saying fire Dan Quinn. This is my thing. I want to win and compete for a Super Bowl as early as next season. But the only way that we're going to do that, I feel, is with keeping Dan Quinn. If you fire Dan Quinn and you get rid of all of the assistants again, you clean house again, it's going to be very tough on these players. Even these players that have made improvements, like Isaiah Oliver, Kendall Sheffield. This is going to be like the second year in a row that you're trying to switch regimes and trying to change, do a full, basically flip-flopping. And that's hard for players to do. It's hard for players to adjust to new coaching. That's not something that happens overnight and then boom, you're winning again. It takes time. If you remember when Dan Quinn came in, his first season, we were 8-8. The next season, boom, we went to the Super Bowl. Why? Because it gave them a full year to get under their belt to learn Dan Quinn's scheme. It gave Dan Quinn some time to draft more players that he likes to play his type of scheme. And the players were more comfortable in year 2 under Dan Quinn than year 1. And it was the same thing with Matt Ryan. If you look at Matt Ryan, every time Matt Ryan gets a new offensive coordinator, the first year he struggles. When we had Kyle Shanahan, 2015, Matt Ryan struggled. When we brung in Dirk Cutter with Mike Smith, he struggled. When we brought, even this year, when we brung Dirk Cutter back for the first couple games, our team struggled. And the reason that is because it takes time to build camaraderie, chemistry. All that takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. If you look at the Cleveland Browns, a lot of people are wondering, why are the Cleveland Browns not winning? For one, and I always talk about this, their offensive line is not playing well. So I don't care how many weapons you have on the outside. They have probably the best wide receiver core in the league. But he probably has top 5. They're definitely top 5 as far as weapons for Baker Mayfield. They have Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, Njoku, Callaway. They have so many weapons out there. Nick Chubb. They have a bunch of nice players on that team. But the problem with that team is that they don't have chemistry. They have a first-year head coach in Freddie Kitchens. He's trying to develop his philosophy. They're 2-5 right now in the year. But the reason that they're 2-5 is not because they don't have the talent. What happens is it takes time to blend that talent together. Because football is the ultimate team sport. It's not like basketball where you can throw a bunch of superstars together like a dream team and it's all going to work out. Football is a type of sport where you have to have chemistry. Offensive line has to move as one. If you don't have chemistry on your offensive line, the offensive line is going to struggle. If you don't have chemistry with your wide receivers and the wide receivers and the quarterback, you're going to struggle. If the quarterback and the offensive coordinator are not clicking and are not moving as one, then you're going to struggle. So that's what I'm saying with this Falcons team. If we try to bring in a whole new regime, I'm telling you, this team is going to struggle again next year, and they're probably going to have another losing season because you don't just pick up right where the last coach left off. It's few far between. The only time I've seen where a coach is let go and another coach comes in and picks up right where they left off is maybe if it was a former coach that was already in the system, meaning the players already have chemistry. So like if we fire Dan Quinn and we hire one of his assistants, like a Raheem Morris or Jeff Albrecht, which is the linebackers coach, if one of those guys were to get the job, they probably will have more success than bringing in a whole new guy who's going to bring in all of his assistants, because it's going to take time for them guys to develop. And what you can possibly do is stunt the growth of a lot of these guys that are growing, like a Kendall Sheffield, like a Isaiah Oliver. If you bring in a whole new coach who's going to ask these players to play different techniques than what they're already learning and growing in, you're going to have a problem. That chemistry and all of the confidence that those guys gain, they're going to lose all of that confidence right back. So if you felt like, you seen how Isaiah Oliver had pretty much no confidence in the first couple games of the season, and now he's building confidence and gaining confidence playing under Dan Quinn. If you bring in a whole new coaching staff, new DB coaches and things of that nature, these guys are going to struggle. Watch what I say. I'm telling you. So that's the reason that I believe that Arthur Blank is trying to see how we play against these division opponents in the NFC South. Because if these guys show promise and we can go in and win some of these games in the NFC South, which I believe we're going to beat the Bucs twice. I believe we're going to beat Carolina twice. And the only game I see us splitting possibly is with New Orleans. And that's because New Orleans is just a whole nother beast right now. They're clicking on all cylinders, and they're doing what I'm talking about. Sean Payton and Drew Brees are on the same page at all times. Their defensive coordinator has been there. They've lost in the playoffs, made 2 deep playoff runs the last 2 seasons. So they're ready to win now. They're ready to win now. And so are the Atlanta Falcons. I feel like with the Atlanta Falcons, we're just not clicking on all cylinders right now. But I see the team is moving in the right direction. These players have not given up on Dan Quinn. That's what the media was preaching in the first couple games when we were on a losing streak. These players are giving up. If a team has given up, you don't go from playing a game while you're down 24-0 to end up losing the game 27-20. That shows me a team that's making progress, and that shows me a coaching staff that's making adjustments. The only adjustments I don't think that I've seen that I want to see is a Devondre Campbell adjustment, where I would like to see Devondre Campbell get benched, and I want to see Foye Oluokun take the starting role and Jermaine Grace to start getting some snaps as well, because we already see that Devondre Campbell is not the answer at the weak side linebacker position. We need somebody on the other side of Deion Jones, because we know Deion Jones is just a straight-out baller. Well, he needs another linebacker that's solid in coverage, because Devondre Campbell is not executing. He just looks dumb, meaning, and I'm not trying to be rude, but he just looks like he plays with no IQ. He's leaving running backs wide open that's leaking out of the backfield. He's not covering crossing patterns and dropping back in the cover when they're in the zone coverage. He's just not doing his job, period. Another problem I saw in this game, and it was a crucial problem that I saw in this game against the Seahawks, is guys not knowing where to line up. On the 2 touchdowns that I saw by DK Metcalf, 2 players were guarding 1 player, and the team was just looking, when they were trying to communicate whatever they were trying to communicate to each other, whether they were in zone or man or who should be guarding who, it was too much confusion, and guys were running all over the place, and DK Metcalf on those 2 touchdowns on the goal line broke wide open because guys were not lined up. Guys didn't know where to go, and that's all got to do with inexperience. That's not coaching. I keep telling people, that's not coaching. That's inexperience. People want to put everything on Dan Quinn. If it is coaching, it's the assistant coach's job. The DB coaches should be telling these guys where they should be lining up. That's not Dan Quinn's job as a defensive coordinator. His job is to call the plays and to watch tendencies of what the offense is doing and try to combat what they're doing. His job is not to make sure Kendall Sheffield or whoever, Devondre Campbell, is lining up correctly. They should know that. That's Jeff Albrecht as the linebackers coach. That's stuff that should be being handled in practice. So that's why I say that guys are not paying attention, because it's no way that these guys shouldn't know where to line up. So it's either the assistant coaches are dropping the ball, or these players are panicking during the game, or they're not paying attention at practice, because in your walkthroughs, these guys should be going through those type of plays. They should be going through scenarios where you're on the goal line and you know where to line up. So when I see guys running all over the place, running from side to side like they don't know where they should be lined up at, that goes to either to coaching, the assistant coaches, not Dan Quinn. The assistant coaches are not making the proper adjustments. But mainly, I don't think it's the assistant coaches. I think it's the players are not paying attention. And the players are so inexperienced that they're not executing. That's what I feel like is going on. And I feel like that's the main problem with this Atlanta Falcons team. I've been telling you guys this from Jump Street. The main problem I'm seeing with this Atlanta Falcons team is execution. The execution is not there, especially on the defensive end, because the defensive end has been struggling all season. On the offensive end, it's execution as well, but it's mainly inconsistencies that I'm seeing out of the offensive line because we have rookies and guys that are not on the same page, like a Caleb McGarry, where he's having up and down games. And that's going to happen when you have rookie guys. When you got rookie guys and new guys and guys like Wes Schweitzer that are backup guys that shouldn't be starting in the first place, you're going to have those inconsistencies. And that's what's the problem with the offensive line. They're inconsistent. The same thing with the defense. We are play bad in the first half and then play excellent in the second half. That's inconsistencies and that's experience. I'm telling you, if you keep Dan Quinn around, I'm telling you, next year we're going to have a winning season. All we need to do is make some minor tweaks to this team. And the minor tweaks are bringing in a Derek Brown. If we get a high enough draft pick, bringing in a Chase Young that can rush the passer at defensive end, bringing in maybe another linebacker, bringing in some more, drafting a safety just in case Keanu Neal gets injured again, bringing in some more secondary help, like some more corners, because on this team, we don't have enough depth. If you look at this Atlanta Falcons team, the problem with our team is, and it's been proven the last 2 years, when players get injured, especially on our defense, we don't have the proper guys behind them that can come in and be starter material or hold water, at least hold water so the guys can come back, meaning maintain, tread water. We don't have guys that are treading water. We have too much of a gap as far as talent gap, where when we lose somebody, the gap is like from here, you got Keanu Neal, and then you go from Keanu Neal to a Kabal Ishmael who's way down here somewhere. And the talent gap is so large and so great that, it's almost impossible to win games that way when you bring it in and you lose all of that talent. And that's exactly what happened last year. We lost Deion Jones. You see how bad Devondre Campbell is playing this year. He was the Mike linebacker a little bit for the team when Deion Jones went down, and then they moved him out of the role because I think that he didn't have the IQ to play the middle linebacker position, and they played Foye Oluokun, and he led the team, I believe, in tackles last year. And he proved that he deserved to be a starter. So I don't even know why this year we went back to Devondre Campbell. I believe that we should have automatically gave the job from last year to a Foye Oluokun because he proved that he could lead the defense without Deion Jones. He proved that he could fly around and make tackles, and he proved that he can be better in coverage than Devondre Campbell because Foye Oluokun in college played safety as well. So he has the ability to play coverage. But going forward, like I said, in these next 8 weeks, after the bye week, we have coming in, I believe we're going to the New Orleans Saints. And like I said, that's going to be a very tough game, a very hostile environment for these players. But I believe we can come out and win this game because we've been tested and tried by fire this first 8 games of the season. So that's the advantage of playing a tough schedule for your first 8 games. These next 8 games should be a breeze because the teams in our division are not as tough as the teams that we've played, like the Texans, like the Seattle Seahawks of the world, like the Indianapolis Colts of the world, the teams that we've already played, the Minnesota Vikings. I'm telling you right now, the teams in our division are not on that level. The only team that I have much respect for, and I think that they're legitimate contenders, is the New Orleans Saints. They're the only team that I can say I'm like, okay, I'm a little bit nervous about that game. I don't know how it's going to turn out. But the Buccaneers, I'm not afraid. I believe that we're going to dominate them as we have the last couple seasons. The Carolina Panthers, we're going to dominate them as well because I don't believe that the Carolina offense can score with our offense. The main issue that the Carolina Panthers are going to have is they can't score the ball in bunches. The Carolina Panthers are Christian McCaffrey or bust, basically. And their defense is always excellent. They're good in the trenches, but I feel like we can outscore their team. They're like the Chicago Bears. They don't score a lot of points for Carolina. They don't score a lot of points. They're a team that's opportunistic, meaning they like to cause turnovers and give their offense short fields to play on, and they like to run the ball a ton with Christian McCaffrey. So they're like a poor man Seattle Seahawks team because they don't have a Russell Wilson on their team. Cam Newton is solid. I don't know if he's going to come back later on. I don't know if he's going to come back later on in this season by the time we play them. If so, I'm not too concerned because we know Cam Newton has accuracy issues. The main thing when we play their team is stopping Run CMC, stopping Christian McCaffrey. He is the guy, the number one guy on our hit list or on our board when we're going to play the Carolina Panthers. On the Bucks, Jameis Winston is so inconsistent that I'm not concerned at all about the Bucks. The Bucks are one of those teams as well that they have peaks and they have huge valleys. Like they're a team that's just like us. They're very inconsistent, so I'm not concerned about them. So I think we have at least that's four wins right there. The Bucks and the Panthers, and I'm not just assuming that we're going to win those games because we may not win those games, and that would be, I don't want to be cocky and say that those teams are not solid teams. They're decent. I just feel like the Saints are the only team that I think that are better than us talent-wise. I don't think, and I believe that we can play with the Saints. I really think we're going to get a tough game, and I feel like the Saints are going to be, we've been well tested, and the Saints are going to be very surprised to see how well this Falcons team plays against them. We should have Matt Ryan back by then, so I expect us to drop 30 points on the Saints. I'm just being real. The Saints secondary is terrible. The Saints does not have a good secondary. Their front seven is the strength of their team. They're a very good team stopping the run, but they're a terrible team stopping the pass. Now, with that being said, that's pretty much all I really wanted to tackle in this video. If you like the video, please like, share, subscribe. If you'd like to comment on the video, I'll do another video probably later on this week just to talk about some other things that I saw. I didn't really hit on the trade deadline. I'll go ahead and hit on that real quick. As you see, the trade deadline did come and go. We didn't let go of anyone during the trade deadline, which I understand. The only person I really wanted us to get rid of is Devondre Campbell. If we could got some draft capital back for him. They said it's not really no market out there for Vic Beasley. And I don't think it's because of Vic Beasley's talent. I think that people don't want to take the contract of Vic Beasley, that $12.8 million or whatever he made this season. I think that's the main issue with the Vic Beasley and why teams are not trying to touch Vic Beasley or not trying to trade for Vic Beasley. I don't think that the issue is that they don't believe he has talent. I think the main issue is they don't want to cough up the money to pay Vic Beasley because his talent is not, for the money that we're paying him, it's not worth the risk. Where they're like, if we go ahead and cut him next season, they can get him at a much cheaper price. And I think cheaper price tag. And I think that's why teams are not trying to come after Vic Beasley or go after Vic Beasley. So what I would like the Falcons to do, like I said in the offseason, bring in another defensive end in the draft, a defensive tackle in the draft. And then if we would like to keep Vic Beasley, I would move Vic Beasley around. I wouldn't have him playing one position. I would have him kind of being like a Swiss Army knife on our defense. And I would have him not necessarily as a starter on this team, but as a good guy for depth, as I was just talking about. Because our teams haven't had good depth the last couple years. So it would be nice to keep Vic Beasley around at a cheaper price tag. So if we do decide to bring Vic Beasley back, I really don't care if he stays or leaves at this point, just at a cheaper price. So if we bring him back like at a veterans minimum, $2 million, $3 million, something like that, that's more reasonable than like a $10 or $12 million deal because Vic Beasley is not worth that. He's proven that he's not worth the money, that the price tag that we thought he was going to get, or the extension we thought he was going to get if he had a breakout season. He's not going to get that deal from anybody. So I don't care if he stays with Atlanta or if he tries to go out in the open market. Based off of his play this season and the last couple of seasons, no one's going to break the bank for Vic Beasley. So he might as well just stay at home in Georgia and stick around with the Falcons and maybe get a role, play a role on this team, maybe as like a third down pass rusher or a spy on certain plays and a blitzer on certain plays. But I think that his role is going to be dialed back. But I do see some value in keeping Vic Beasley around. But we definitely need to bring in a legitimate pass rusher for this team next year. But with that being said, like I said, this is your boy Jew. If you enjoyed this video, please smash the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. I appreciate every single one of my subscribers. I'm going to continue to give you the best Atlanta Falcons content. As always, I'm always going to be loyal to the logo, no matter what decisions we decide to make, whether we keep Dan Quinn or not around, whether we let go, and clean house. I'm always going to support my Atlanta Falcons. And anything that you hear me stating on here is all opinionated by me. It's my opinion or what I feel like. I don't mind if you have different opinions. If you would like to leave a comment and say that you disagree with something that I said in this video, that's fine. I do sometimes message my subscribers and things of that nature that may ask a question or state how they feel about something that I said, and I'll send something back basically elaborating on that. So if you have questions about where this Atlanta Falcons team is headed, don't hesitate to go ahead and leave a comment asking the question, and I definitely will respond to it. But like I said, I appreciate every single Atlanta Falcons fan in the Falcons Nation. Like I said, continue to tell your friends about this channel. Please like, share, subscribe. If you would like to donate and be a supporter of my channel, you can go to Cash App. It'll be the $ and then Jew Talk Sports. But this your boy Jew. That's my time today, y'all. Y'all enjoy your week, the rest of your week. Happy Halloween to you guys. All right, man. This your boy Jew. I'm out. Peace.